Hey, what's up guys, CodefForge here, welcome back in the next video. Today I would like to show you how to build a score counter application using React and Material UI. So at the end of the video we'll have following application. We'll be able to increase the score and decrease the score for both of the teams, and also we'll be able to reset the score. We'll start with generating the project, so let's go to the Visual Studio Code. Okay, here we are, and now to generate the project we will use npx. So we will say npx and we want to use create react app, and we'll call it score counter react. And now we will have to wait to install all of the dependencies and for the project generation. Our project has been generated. It took a while, but now we can navigate to the project directory by saying cd score counter react. And now we'll open it using code. So we want to say code and the current location. We hit enter and it's over here. Before we'll start coding, we will have to install few more dependencies. In the first place, we will have to install Material UI core, so we'll be able to use material components in the React. And to do it, we'll say npm install, and it will be at material-ui/core. We'll hit enter, and after a few seconds, it should be installed. It's here, so now we can install icons. So again, we want to say npm install at material-ui, but this time /icons. It looks good. Now we can try to run our application to check out if it works. So we want to say npm start. And after a few seconds, we will open the web browser. Oh, I have something running on this port, so let me quickly stop it. And now we want to say no. And now we want to start it again. Now it should be good. We can see that our application is up and running, so we can open the web browser to check it out. Okay, and it's here. We are on the localhost port 3000. And we can see here the rotating React logo. So now we can go back to editor and start developing our score counter application. Let's make it smaller over here to have more space for the code, and also let's remove the terminal for now. It looks good, so we can close the welcome page and we can navigate to the source. And over here we'll create a components directory. So we want to right click the source directory, want to say new folder, and it will be components. We'll have two components in our application. The first one will be the Navbar. So let's create a directory for it and we'll call it Navbar. And the second one will be the component for counting the score. So let's call it score. In the first place, we'll take care of the Navbar component. So we want to create a JSX file inside the Navbar directory. So we want to say new file and we'll call it Navbar JSX. In this tutorial, we'll use the function components instead of class components. And to create the function component, we have to create a function with the name of the component. So we'll say function, let's make it bigger maybe, and we'll give it a name of Navbar. So this is the name of our component. And of course, if we want to use React, we have to import it to our component. So we have to say import React from React. And now if we would like to make our Navbar component to display something, we have to go to our Navbar function, and over here we have to say return, and we will use the parentheses, and inside over here we can use HTML tags or material components to display something. And in our case, we want to use those material components, and one of them is appbar. So we want to open a new tag over here. We want to start typing appbar, and we can see that it can be imported from the material UI. We want to hit enter and we want to close it, and we can see at the top it has been added. This appbar component has one specific attribute which we want to use, and it is position. So we want to set the position to static, like this. And now we would like to display the text in our appbar with the name of our application. And to do it, we have to use another material UI component, and it is called toolbar. We have to import it and close it. And inside we have to use another one, which is typography. And now inside this one we can provide some text, and it will be the name of our application. So we'll say score counter over here. So our navbar component is almost ready. We also have to export it. So at the bottom we want to say export default, and it will be the name of our function, which is navbar. For some reason, typography component has not been added to the import, so let's paste it over here because it's coming from the material UI core also. It looks like I have slint disabled for some reason, and because of that we are getting a warning over here. So let's enable it. I will click over here and allow it everywhere. And now it looks good. Okay, so our navigation bar is ready right now. We can save it. And by the way, we are using all of these components over here because this is the recommended way of doing it using material UI. So don't be scared. Those are just the components. Let's go to the app.js and we will use the navbar over there. So let's get rid of all of this stuff from here because we don't need it. So we can remove it. And over here we'll use a box component. So we want to go over here and we'll say box, and we have to of course import it from the material UI. And we have to use the box component or fragments component over here because we'll have the navbar and also we'll have the score component over here. And as you know, from the return statement in the React, we can return only one big component. We cannot have something like, let's say, this, right? So this is not allowed. So inside we can use the navbar. So we want to say navbar, and yeah, let's use the self-closing tag, and we have to import it, of course, and we can see that it has been imported from the components directory. That's good. We are ready to start the application, so let's open the console and we'll type npm start. And after application startup, we can see that our navigation bar is here with the text score counter. So everything works, and now we can take care of our score counting functionality. So let's create score component. We want to create it in the score directory. So we want to say new file, and it will be score.jsx. In the first place, we want to import React. So we want to say import React from React. And now we can create a function component with the name score. And inside we want to create a return statement like this, and the semicolon at the end. In the return statement, we want to use the container component from the material UI. So it will be container, it is imported, yes. And it will basically position our content horizontally. So our content will be positioned horizontally, and now we would like to somehow elevate it. And in the case of material UI, we can use the paper component to achieve it. So we want to go inside the container and we want to use paper component. We have to import it and close the tag. Now we'll take care of the buttons and also the components that will display the text, and later on we'll take care of positioning them. In the first place, we'll need the button for decreasing the score, and we'll use, of course, the button from the Material UI. So it will be button, it's imported, and we will give it a variant, and we'll set it to contained. And the contained button is basically the button with the filled background and is also elevated. Also, we would like to specify the color, so we want to say here color, and we'll set it to primary. Inside the button, we don't want to put any text, but we want to put the icon. And since it's the button for decreasing the score, we'll use the remove icon. So we want to use remove, and it will be self-closing tag, and we have to, of course, import it. And you can see over here at the top that we are importing the remove icon from the Material UI icons. After this one, we'll have another button. So let's copy this one, and over here we'll have the button for increasing the score. So instead of the remove icon, we'll use the add icon. So we can change it and import it. Now we would like to display the score for the home team, and to do it we'll use the paper component, which we already know, and we'll use the square attribute over here, so the corners of this paper component will be not rounded. And for now we'll use the placeholder, and we'll put a 0 over here. After that, we'll have the separator, which will separate the home score and away score. So for that, we'll use the box component, and inside we'll have a column. And of course, we have to import it because we haven't used it in this component yet. Okay, so after the separator, we want to display the score for the away team. So we can simply copy this and paste it over here. And we'll also need the buttons for increasing and decreasing the score for the away team, but we'll need them in the reversed order. So in the first place, we'll copy the increase score button, and the next one will be the decrease score button. We'll need one more button over here, and it will be the button for clearing the score for both of the teams. So let's scroll it down and let's copy, let's say this one, and let's put it after the decrease the score for the away team button. We'll paste it over here, and we'll change the icon to clear. We have to import it. Also, we'll get rid of the color attribute, so the default color for this button will be used, and it will be probably gray. Let's export our score components. So here at the bottom, we want to say export default score, and let's save it, and let's go to the app.js file over here. And now under the navigation, we want to display our score component. So let's go over here, and we want to type score. And what is important, do not import it from the Material UI icons, import it from the components directory, because this is our component and we want to display this one instead of icon. And now we want to make it self and closing tag. We can save it, and we can start the application to check out how it looks like. Okay, so this is how our application looks right now. We have all of the required components, so we can take care of positioning them correctly. Before we'll position elements in the score component, we'll first create a CSS file for our score component. So in the score directory, we want to create a new file with the name score and extension CSS. To position our elements this way, we will use flex, and we'll start with creating flex container class. And inside, in the first place, of course, we want to say display flex. And thanks to that, we can set justify content to center, and also we can set align items to center. And also we'll add some extra margin at the top, so we'll say margin top 2 rems. We'll define some more helper rules over here. So the next one will be center, which will center our text inside of the selected components. So it will be text align center. And we will have some extra rules that will help us to position elements. And the first one will be padding horizontally by 1 rem. And it will be padding, and you want to put 0 over here and 1 rem over here. And let's do the same for the margin. So instead of padding, you want to add margin horizontally, and it will be margin over here. We'll also need the one that will add the margin to the top, so it will be margin top 1, and it will be margin top set to 1 rem. And the last one, let's call it big font, and we'll set the font size over here to 3 rems. So this will be used in the elements that will display the score. We can save it now, and we can go to the score.jsx file, and here at the top we can import our CSS files. So all we have to do is to say import, and from the current location we want to get score CSS like this. Now I will switch the views, so we'll have the editor on the left and the web browser to the right, so it will be easier to make the adjustments. So first let's hide this one, and I will open the web browser. Okay, and the first thing we want to change is that there is no gap between the navigation bar and our score component. And to make it better, we'll go to the paper over here. We will use class name attribute. And over here we'll use our class, which is margin top 1. So it should add 1 rem of margin at the top. And if we save it, we can see that there is a gap right now. We can also probably put it on the container, but let's leave it here on the paper component. Now we would like to display everything in line except this clear button. So we'll add another wrapper inside the paper component. So we'll use the box for this, and we'll move everything except these clear buttons. Start from here, and you want to move 1 level up, get rid of this space, and we'll format the code. And now we can add the class to the box component over here. So I want to say class name, and we'll use our flex container class. So we want to say flex container. We want to save it, and our components are now displayed inline. Next thing I don't like is that our elements are attached to the edges of this paper component. So it would be nice to add some extra padding inside. And to do it, we'll add another box component over here. So it will be the box, and this time we'll move everything inside. So we'll start from here, but we'll grab also the clear button. Copy it, cut it and paste it here in the box component. And here we can use the special attribute, and it is the P, which stands for padding, and we'll set it to 2. And if we will save it right now, we should get some extra padding inside. We also want to separate those buttons for decreasing and increasing the score for the home. So we will wrap our remove button into the box component again. So we'll grab this one and put it over here, and we'll give it a attribute which is margin right, and we'll set it to 1. If we save it, we can see that the buttons has been separated. So now you can probably see that using these box components is quite verbose, I would say. and it is decreasing the readability of our component. So this is why we have defined those rules over here to save some space and to improve this readability, but I wanted to show you how to use them. So now instead of using these boxes over here, we'll use our predefined rules on the paper component, which is wrapping up the score for the home team. So over here we will say class name and we'll set it to our rules. So we'll use the padding horizontally by 1 and margin horizontally by 1, and we'll also add big font over here. And same applies to the second paper. So we'll copy this and paste it also for the score of the away team. And we'll also need the big font for the separator. So let's copy it and let's paste it over here, but this time without those. And now let's save it. Yeah, and now it looks much better. We are also missing some space for the buttons in the away team. So let's go over here and find it. And we'll use box this time. So over here we'll say box. And we'll wrap our decrease score button for the away team into this box. And we'll give it attribute margin left and we'll set it to 1. Also, let's format the code and let's save it. And the gap is here. Good. There is one more thing to change before we will implement the logic of our score counter application. And this is the position of the clear button. Let's take care of it. So we'll wrap it into the box again. And we'll cut it and paste it over here. Format it and we'll give the padding top and we'll set it to 2. And also we'll use our center rule. So over here we'll say center. If we'll save it, the clear button is here in the middle. Okay, so it's done. And now we can go back to the default view to implement the logic of our application. So in the first place, we have to go to the top of our function, and over here we'll use the state hooks. So state hooks are basically the hooks that allows you to use state in the functional components in React. So in our component, we'll have 2 state hooks, one for the score of the home team and one for the score of the away team. Let's start with the home team. So we want to say const, and now we'll have to specify the name of variable which will store the state of the home score. So we'll say home score, and now we'll also need to specify the name of the method which will allow us to modify the state of the home score. So we'll say set home score. Now you want to use the assign operator over here, and you want to use the React method which is use state. We have to import it. We can see it over here, it's imported. And now we have to specify the initial state, and we want to use the 0 over here because the initial score for the home team will be 0. Same goes for the away team. So we'll copy this, paste it over here, but we'll change the home score to away score. And same goes for the method. So it will be set away score over here. Now we can use the home score and away score variables. So let's go over here, and instead of displaying the 0, we want to display our home score variable. So we want to use it and we want to wrap it into the curly braces. And same goes for the away score. So we can copy it and put it instead of 0. And we have to use the interpolation, of course. Now we have to modify the scores by clicking the buttons. So let's start with the decreasing the score for the home team over here. And to attach the event to the button, we want to use onClick attribute. like this. And we can use the assign operator, and now between the curly braces we can specify the logic, and in our case we'll use the arrow function without any parameters, and here we want to call our set home score method, which is defined over here, and it allows us to modify the home score. And inside we want to use the home score variable, and since we are decreasing the score we want to say -1. Same goes for increasing the score for the home team, so we can copy this part from here and put it on the add button, and all we have to do is to change the -1 to +1, so we will change it over here. So now let's move to the away team. It's over here, so we can reuse our on click, but we have to change the method to set away score, and also the variable will be the away score. And since it's the increase the score for the away team, we have to change minus to plus. And now we can copy it and paste it in the decrease score button for away team, and we'll change the plus to minus. So logic for increasing and decreasing the score for both of the teams is here. Now we also have to take care of resetting the score for both of them. So we have to go to the clear button here, we'll paste the on click, and we will have to make some adjustments over here. So instead of calling this, we want to put the set of curly braces, and here we want to set away score to 0, and also we want to set home score to 0, like this. Looks good. We are almost ready to test it out, but before we'll start we have to navigate to the app.test.js, and we will get rid of those because we don't have learn React text, so we can just remove it. So this test will pass. It does nothing, but doesn't matter right now. Close it, and we can start our application right now. So the application is up and running, and it looks way better than before. And now let's test the functionality. So we can increase the score and decrease the score for the home team. Same goes for the away team, and also we can reset the score. One thing is missing, and it is that we don't have validation to check if the score is negative. So I will leave it to you guys to implement this feature. Okay guys, so this is all for today. Thank you for watching, and remember about subscribing to the channel and liking the videos to support it. See you next time, bye!